Arthur Finch bought a cursed garage with his last dollar and found a fortune hidden in the shadows. But what he did next shocked an entire town and proved that sometimes the greatest treasure is not what you keep, but what you give away. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me, and please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Arthur Finch stood at the pump, 72 years old, with hands that still smelled like engine oil, even though he had not turned a wrench in 3 years. Retirement had not been kind. His wife was gone. His daughter lived 2 states away. The phone rang once a month if he was lucky. He filled his truck, paid with crumpled bills, and walked inside to use the restroom. On his way out, something caught his eye. A bulletin board covered in faded flyers. One of them, barely hanging by a single tack, read, "Garage for sale. Cheap. Cash only. No one wants it." There was a number scrawled at the bottom. Arthur pulled the flyer down and stared at it. He had $12,000 left in the world. His pension covered rent and food, barely. He did not need a garage, but the word cheap whispered to him like a dare. He called the number that night. A woman answered, her voice tired and flat. She did not ask questions. She just said the address and told him to bring cash if he was serious. The next morning, Arthur drove to the edge of town, past the shuttered diner and the boarded-up hardware store. The garage sat alone on a cracked lot, its roof sagging, its walls streaked with rust. The woman was waiting outside, smoking a cigarette, her face hard and unreadable. She took his cash, handed him a key, and walked away without another word. Arthur stood there, key in hand, wondering what he had just done. The door groaned when he pushed it open. Dust hung in the air like fog. The smell hit him first. Mildew, decay, something else, something metallic. He stepped inside. The main floor was a disaster. Broken tools, shattered glass, piles of trash that looked like they had been there for years, but the space was huge, bigger than it looked from outside. Arthur walked slowly, his boots crunching on debris. He ran his hand along a workbench, thick with grime. He could see it, what this place used to be, what it could be again. Then he noticed something strange. The back wall did not match the others. It was newer, cleaner. He walked closer, pressed his palm against it, and heard a hollow thud. His heart kicked. He searched for a seam, a hinge, anything. Then he found it, a panel barely visible, tucked behind a shelf. He pulled the shelf away, pried the panel loose, and stared into darkness. A hidden room. Arthur fumbled for his phone, turned on the flashlight, and stepped inside. His breath caught. Cars. Not just any cars. Classics. A line of them, covered in tarps, sitting in perfect stillness like sleeping giants. He pulled the first tarp away, and his knees nearly buckled. A Shelby Cobra. He moved to the next. A Jaguar E-Type. Then a Porsche 356. Then a Mercedes 300 SL. His hands were shaking. These were not just cars. These were legends, millions of dollars, sitting in the dark, untouched, forgotten. Then he saw the envelope. It was taped to the windshield of the last car, yellowed with age. Arthur opened it with trembling fingers. The letter inside was handwritten, the ink faded but still readable. It began, "If you are reading this, then I am gone. My name was Vincent Halford. I spent my life collecting these cars, not for money, for love, but I made enemies. People who wanted me to sell, to break these machines apart, to let them disappear into private collections where no one would ever see them again. I refused, so I hid them. I bought this garage under a false name. I told no one. I knew they would come for them when I died, but I am leaving this letter for whoever finds them next. Please, Do not let greed win. These cars belong to the world, to people who love them, to a community that needs hope. Do what I could not. Save them." Arthur read the letter 3 times. His mind raced. He could sell these cars. He could live like a king for the rest of his life. He could leave something behind for his daughter. But the words in the letter would not let him go. Do not let greed win. He folded the letter, slipped it into his pocket, and walked back into the main garage. He sat on the floor, his back against the wall, and stared at nothing. The town was dying. Everyone knew it. The factory had closed. The young people had left. The old people were just waiting. He thought about Vincent Halford, a man who loved something so much he hid it from the world to keep it safe. A man who trusted a stranger to do the right thing. Arthur did not sleep that night. He sat at his kitchen table, the letter in front of him, and made a decision that terrified him. He would not sell the cars. He would not keep them. He would turn the garage into a museum, a place for the town, a place that could bring people back. But he could not do it alone. The next morning, he drove to the town hall. He asked to speak to the mayor. The mayor was a woman named Diane Ruiz, 50 years old, exhausted, fighting to keep the town alive with no money and no help. Arthur told her everything. She did not believe him at first, but when he showed her photos on his phone, her mouth fell open. She leaned back in her chair, staring at him like he had just told her the sun was falling. Then she asked the only question that mattered. "What do you want to do?" Arthur told her his plan. A museum, free admission for locals, a place to host events, a reason for people to stop when they drove through, a reason for the town to remember it still had a heartbeat. Diane listened, her eyes wet, and then she nodded. She made calls. She pulled favors. She found grants and loans and volunteers. Word spread fast. People who had not spoken to each other in years started showing up at the garage. They brought tools. They brought paint. They brought food and stories and hope. Arthur worked beside them, his old hands steady again, his chest full of something he had not felt in a long time. Purpose. It took 6 months. The garage was gutted and rebuilt. The cars were cleaned and restored, not to perfection, but to life. The hidden room became the centerpiece, lit with soft lights, the cars displayed like art. The walls were covered with photos of the town's history, the people who built it, the families who stayed, the dreams that refused to die. On opening day, over 300 people came. Some cried, some laughed, some just stood in silence, staring at the cars, remembering when the world felt bigger. Diane stood next to Arthur and whispered, "You saved us." But Arthur shook his head. "Vincent saved us. I just listened. The museum brought visitors. Not thousands, but enough. Enough to keep the diner open. Enough to bring a family back to open a bookstore. Enough to make the town feel like a town again." Arthur became the caretaker. He gave tours. He told Vincent's story. He watched as children pressed their faces against the glass and asked questions their parents could not answer. He met people who drove hours just to see the cars, who left donations, who shared the story online, who said they would come back. And for the first time in years, Arthur was not alone. He had a family again, not by blood, but by choice. The volunteers became his friends. The town became his home. 1 year after opening, a man in a suit showed up. He said he represented collectors. He said he knew about the cars. He said he could offer Arthur more money than he could imagine. Arthur listened, his face calm, his hands folded. Then he walked the man to the door, looked him in the eye, and said, "These cars are not for sale. They never were. They never will be." The man left angry. But Arthur did not care. He had made a promise to a stranger. he had kept it. And in doing so, he had found something worth more than money. He had found a reason to wake up. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.